Hello everybody. Supermind is my upcoming book that I've been mentioning at the end of my videos on the main channel. It's best summed up by its blurb, and here it is. The age of biological augmentation and post-humanity has dawned. Amid the social upheaval that results, scientist Greg Corbin is reaching what he believes is the apex of his career. With the help of a living supercomputer, he intends to create a computer simulation of the universe so accurate that even humanity's past, present, and future will be revealed. But then his life collapses around him, and he is faced with a decision that will determine the fate of the one he loves. Blurbs are never all that revealing on purpose, but the central ideas in Supermind deal with simulation theory, the concept that our universe is very possibly a computer simulation of some sort. I made a video on that on the other channel, link in the description below. Supermind is fundamentally a story about two universes, one simulated, the other perhaps real. But to tell a story set in two different universes, I made use of a literary tool called a vignette to tell snippets of the story of the simulated universe from its Big Bang to the end of time in order to convey what was happening within that simulation. The vignettes are somewhat self-contained in Supermind. They tend to be mini-stories, even though as a whole they relate to each other and tell a parallel tale to the main story. This reading is the first of the vignettes that appear in the book as a sort of flash sideways between the real universe, and I say that in quotes, and the simulated one. The vignettes are written in a more literary and floral style than the body of the book, but I thought the members from the other channel might enjoy this particular one as it describes, in fast forward, the death of planet Earth and the sun's transformation into a red giant star. So here it is, the first vignette from Supermind. I call it the Lucifer Sun. While it was once the giver of life, it was now the destroyer of it. The sun, Sol, Amun-Ra, Tanatayu, the one that Huyi could not shoot down, now existed as a sick ball of dying nuclear fire. Yet it still shined bright in its familiar yellow-white glory, but its core was aged and weak. Undiminished was its ancient empire of gravity that bound together the planets of the solar system. It would be so for a near eternity. But the sun's life as a main sequence star would not last forever. It was inevitable that it would soon expand into a red giant star. The age of hydrogen fusion was over and the age of helium beginning. With it, the epoch of creation in the solar system was also ending. Ahead was the time for destruction. The Earth hung in the infinite black void of space, orbiting the sun the same as it had done for 10 billion years. It was now a full 5 billion years older than it had been during the days of humankind, yet the Earth did not show its age. It was still fundamentally the same gorgeous jewel that man had once known. Intact were its blue oceans and drifting brown continents. Its days still began with a dawn and always ended with a sunset. Earth's children would still indeed recognize it despite its reconfigured lands, but they were no longer looking. Earth also now lacked the green expanses of forest that had once hallmarked large tracts of it. The plants had long ago succumbed to the harsh conditions of the surface imposed by the changing sun. Also gone was the oxygen, and along with it the whole of complex life. A cursory glance from above would have suggested that the planet was now dead. Only water, rock, and dry soil remained visible, but the world still hosted one solitary holdout of life. Life on Earth had long ago come full circle, deep within the blackness of the seas. It was primitive again, the legacies of evolutionary greatness stripped away, but not the light of life itself. The last organism left on Earth was a bioluminescent algae that sustained itself on raw minerals alone. Time and evolution had suited it to withstand the sun's radiation in the depths, but its life was hard. Nonetheless, the extinction of its predators had left it the last monarch species of planet Earth, a title humankind once held. But it was unimpressive. In the light of day, it was little more than a green sludge. The meek had inherited the Earth. After man's disappearance, Earth came once more under the dominion of nature and evolution. It had not been that way under most of humanity's period of stewardship. Their technology had allowed them to suppress and control it. They even guided it for a time. But after humanity's departure, raw evolution again defined the development of life. In time, a second intelligent species arose. It was neither reptile nor mammal, but something new. They appeared a mere 100 million years before the death of the planet. They were a hopeful species, a rich culture that shared much in common with early humankind. They had art, literature, and even music, though humans might not have recognized them as such. They held promise from an early age to do great things, but the sun snuffed them out just as they were preparing to build their Giza pyramids and Great Walls of China. Their annihilation transpired in a single day. The sun they worshipped as a god changed in a way that was beyond their comprehension. It was an invisible and terrible plague that could not be countered. Irradiated by a hail of solar radiation, they became the prey of their deity rather than the object of its love. Had they the time, they would have come to believe that God was acting wrathful against them. They might have learned their lesson and set themselves straight to atone for their sins, but instead, they met their Armageddon in confusion. And now, all was gone but the algae. The last moments of life on Earth were breathtaking. Had humankind chosen to look down upon their former planet, they would have beheld an unfolding scene of horror. Subjacent to the Earth, coming out of eclipse, was the changed, reddening sun. In an instant, the new power of the star forever subdued the remaining magnetic fields of the Earth, which was heralded by a fiery flash of polar auroras. The surface temperature rose as the reborn sun revealed itself to the world. The new sun exacted a kind of retribution on the creation it had once fostered. It was now time for the sun to consume its children planets like a luminous Cronus, hoping to avoid the prophecy of its own inevitable death. The surface of the sun erupted into ever more violent outbursts of roiling flares. Centuries before, it had destroyed Mercury with an isolated lick of flame, but now the great star swelled and overwhelmed Venus. Its death was without fanfare. The goddess planet was simply engulfed. As the sun expanded towards the blue jewel, it grew ever more crimson as it gained a temporary new lease on life. But there would be no such new beginning for Earth. As the surface of the sun approached it, the seas boiled away and the algae finally died. Life and the sojourn of consciousness on planet Earth had come to an end. Then the world fell into a rage of extreme storms, dwarfing anything it had ever known before. And then, in a blink of an eye, the storms melted away into a thick white cloud deck of evaporated ocean. The clouds then presided for a time over a scorched land, temporarily shielding it from the murderous sun. The true, pure Holy Mother of Life, blue liquid water, was soon just a vague geologic memory for Earth. Yet it still rained. It was rain that never splashed or ran in rivers, but evaporated before it reached the soil. And it was no longer pure. Instead, it was sulfurous and acrid. On the surface, it became so hot that lead could no longer maintain itself as a solid. Neither could zinc. And as the world grew hotter still, finally iron and gold melted. Earth had now become a hell of molten metal and silicon under the dominion of the Lucifer Sun. Without warning, the cloud deck gave way as the very atmosphere itself blew out into space. It was as a revelation, like a great stage curtain rising and revealing the worst visions of hell to the universe. Humankind, had they cared to look, would have then beheld Earth's swan song. What was revealed was not a solid surface, but the subdued orange glow of a completely molten one. Earth now bore no signs of ever having supported life, its geologic memory completely wiped clean. Life was a foreign thing to it now, the memories of its last gasps forgotten. Nor did Earth remember humankind, they having left it long ago in search of safer havens. So there you have it, and thanks for listening. I hope you're still awake, or at least asleep in a good way. Supermind, one way or the other, will be out this spring.